up on Network Africa. The United Nations declares the humanitarian crisis in Sudan a complete disaster as the nation suffers from nearly 16 months of conflict. The UN Security Council authorizes its mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo to support the Southern African Development Community mission in the country. Plus, South African actor who appeared in Marvel film Black Panther, Connie, Chiume, dies at the age of 72. Thank you so much for joining us at this time. Welcome to the program. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin with the war in Sudan. The International Criminal Court, ICC, is urging the UN Security Council to find creative ways to end the ongoing conflict in the Darfur region. Presenting his latest report on the situation in Darfur, covering this February to July, ICC prosecutor Karim Khan told the Security Council that it had been 6 months of misery and torment for the people of Darfur. The report calls the situation a profound human tragedy, with Mr. Khan stressing that there has been further deterioration in the last 6 months, with increased reports of rape, crimes against children and vulnerable civilians. He then expressed confidence and optimism that his next report will include a request for arrest warrants for several key individuals involved in the ongoing situation.
The last 6 months since I presented my last report to this council have been 6 months of misery, 6 months of torment, a terrible 6 months for the people of Darfur. Many credible reports of rapes, crimes against and affecting children, persecution on a mass scale inflicted against the most vulnerable civilians in Sudan and certainly the most vulnerable people in Darfur. Terror has become a common currency. And the terror is not felt by the people with guns and with weapons, but it is felt by people who are running very often with nothing on their feet. People hungry. We have somehow forgotten of the responsibilities under the UN Charter that rest with this Council by dint of your declaration in 2005 that the situation represents a threat to international peace and security. This feeling that is a law-free zone in which people can act with abandon based upon the worst proclivities, their worst base instincts, the politics of hate and power, the opportunities to profit, rather than the fundamental imperatives.
Well, the United Nations is declaring the humanitarian crisis in Sudan a complete disaster as the nation suffers from nearly 16 months of conflict between opposing factions. During the Security Council meeting, the Director of Operations and Advocacy at the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, Edem Wonosu, criticized the blockade of essential supplies that endangers the lives of malnourished children in North Darfur. She says this is entirely a man-made crisis. This is coming days after the Famine Review Committee concluded that famine conditions are present in Zamzam camp that's close to El Fasher, the capital of North Darfur. For his part, the World Food Programme's Assistant Executive Director, Stephen Omolo, reports that the agency is significantly scaling up its operations across the country.
Our worst fears were confirmed last week. The Famine Review Committee concluded that famine conditions are present in Zamzam camp, close to El Fasher, the capital of North Darfur. This is the same camp that Médecins Sans Frontières warned about 6 months ago, where one child was dying every 2 hours from malnutrition. The Famine Review Committee also found the famine conditions are also likely present in other displacement camps and in and around the city. When famine happens, it means we are too late. It means we did not do enough. It means we, the international community, have failed. This is an entirely man-made crisis and a shameful stain on our collective conscience.
We signaled that famine was imminent. We warned then that aid agencies were being blocked from accessing significant parts of the country with food and other essential supplies. But our warnings have not been heard. The Famine Review Committee, FRC, has concluded that there is famine in Zamzam camp near El Fasher in North Darfur. Over 750,000 people are currently classified as being in IPC Phase 5. They are experiencing catastrophic levels of food insecurity. And an estimated 730,000 children are projected to suffer severe acute malnutrition this year.
Well, more on the crisis in Sudan, the humanitarian coordinator in the country is calling on donors to urgently scale up their financial support while using diplomacy to push for opening up humanitarian access. UN spokesperson Farhan Haq says Clementine Nweketa Salami stresses that this is needed to stop a large-scale famine from taking hold in the country. According to Mr. Haq, the humanitarian coordinator in that country also says the community in Sudan has been scaling up the response in recent months, but the needs are immense and there isn't a moment to waste.
In a statement released today, the humanitarian coordinator in Sudan, Clementine Nweketa Salami, stressed that to stop a large-scale famine from taking hold in the country, donors must urgently scale up their financial support while using diplomacy to push for opening humanitarian access. She said the humanitarian community in Sudan has been scaling up the response in recent months, but the needs are immense and there isn't a moment to waste. Now, more than half of Sudan's population, some 25.6 million people, is facing acute hunger. Ms. Nweketa Salami called for the silencing of the guns to enable safe and unimpeded humanitarian access across borders and battle lines, as well as an urgent injection of funding for aid operations. As of today, this year's $2.7 billion humanitarian response plan for Sudan is less than a third funded, with $872 million received.
Away from Sudan, a UN resolution has been adopted by the Security Council authorizing the UN mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, MONUSCO, to support Southern African Development Community mission in the country through enhanced coordination, information sharing, and technical assistance. Now, Sierra Leone and France are the pen holders of this resolution. The ambassador of Sierra Leone, Michael Kanu, spoke before the vote, saying the resolution seeks to create a conducive environment for the implementation of ongoing regional peace efforts in the DRC.
3+ underscores that the Security Council has a key role to play in achieving.
The result of the voting is as follows. The draft resolution received 15 votes in favor. The draft resolution has been adopted unanimously as Resolution 2746. The draft resolution also seeks to create a conducive environment for the implementation of ongoing regional peace efforts, including welcoming the recent ceasefire agreement that was brokered by Angola between the government of the DRC and Rwanda. We believe that dialogue is extremely critical for the settlement of disputes between the conflicting parties in the DRC.
The A3+ underscores that the Security Council has a key role to play in achieving a peaceful solution to the conflict in Eastern DRC, in keeping with its primary responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security. Consequently, it must continue to support regional interventions geared towards ending the conflict. The A3+ is therefore pleased that the resolution was just adopted unanimously. We believe this resolution now provides a firm platform for cooperation between the SAMI DRC and MONUSCO forces, which will ultimately contribute to building capacity, increasing security, and reducing protection risks for civilians.
Well, the United States has voted in favor of this.
South Africans are mourning the death of veteran South African actor Connie Chiume, who appeared in Marvel film Black Panther. Her family announced her death at the age of 72 at a Johannesburg hospital on Tuesday afternoon, asking for privacy during this difficult period. Ms. Connie Chiume was a trained teacher, but later became a household name on mainstream television. The multi-award-winning actress starred in several South African TV shows. Her son said she was admitted for a medical procedure before her death. Joining us now for more is our South African correspondent, Innocent Samosa. Hello, Innocent. Thank you so much for your time. I can imagine how the atmosphere is in South Africa. How are citizens and fans of Miss Connie Chiume reacting to her death?
Well, a very good evening to you, Layo, and our viewers around the world. Indeed, it's a sad day, but for me, I guess it's a celebration of the life worth lived. It's a celebration of the contribution that she made in the arts and culture industry in South Africa. Well, the news broke out yesterday, as you rightly alluded to. In fact, her family members put up a statement, a short statement on social media, essentially telling us that she has passed on. That is on Instagram. But of course, she died at the Garden City Hospital here in Johannesburg. And I mean, she was, of course, featured on the Black Panther, franchise, and also part of Gomorrah, a telenovela here in South Africa, a local telenovela that is. But I can't believe, Layo, that we're talking about Connie in past tense. I mean, a few years ago, she was celebrating her 72th birthday in style. And we're talking about her in past tense. I mean, those who worked with her, they describe her as someone who was always bubbly, someone who was full of life, larger than life, someone who would always crack jokes. And I mean, a big loss to the arts and culture industry here in South Africa. But also, I think it's a moment to celebrate her contributions, to celebrate her talent, Layo.
Indeed, and we understand she was trained as a nurse and also a teacher, before becoming a household name on the mainstream television, meaning she will be remembered by many people in different ways.
Indeed, Layo, 100%. She will be remembered. I remember when I attended the Naledi Awards. These are awards that are normally held here in South Africa annually to celebrate the people in the arts and culture industry. And I was still starting up in my journalism journey. I was working for a local radio station. And I remember wanting to interview her. I walked up to her with my mic, and she was surrounded by people, as you would imagine. And to my surprise, she gave me time for, to interview her. In fact, she even cracked a joke. She said, "You want a scoop?" She was someone who was bubbly and someone who would make jokes. And she gave me the scoop. And she was someone who was stylish. That's one thing that really comes up. It's someone who really loved to look good, to someone who is, larger than life, as I've explained. So she would be remembered for her work ethic. That's what they describe her. She would be remembered for her professionalism in the arts and culture industry. And those who worked with her, they describe her as someone who would arrive on set on time. Just before everybody gets there, she will be there, going through her script, and she would improvise a script in a way that producers will be wondering, how did she come up with that? So it's someone who really was very much talented. I mean, it's a big loss again, Layo. It's a big loss, but a celebration of life worth lived. So we heard from her family members that they are still, seeking a bit of privacy as they are dealing with this particular grief. But again, a big loss to the industry, Layo.
All right, then we do send condolences to the family and indeed South Africa and everyone, who watched the movie and who was a big fan of hers. Thank you so much, Innocent Samosa, our South African correspondent.
Thank you so much, colleague.
Let's take a break now on the program. Still to come. In Tunisia, the opposition figure Morsi is sentenced to prison ahead of the October election. More details after. Please join us again. Welcome back to the program. Cleaning efforts continue after July's cargo ship accident in Lottsville that caused an oil spill in the Atlantic Ocean. Cleaning workers are on site collecting dirt and sand spilt with oil with the cargo shipwrecks in the ocean. Well, Smith Salvage General Manager Richard Robertson says that the vessel has been significantly damaged as part of it was ripped off by the swells. Another member of the response team stressed that they have the resources and expertise to handle incidents similar to the current one. Well, 18 Filipino seafarers working on the MV Ultra Galaxy have been rescued from the ship after the accident. The MV Ultra Galaxy, a cargo ship under the Panamanian government, grounded and split into 4 parts in July, causing an oil spill around South Africa.
Has been significantly damaged with the storm that came through. The entire superstructure where all the accommodation is, that was ripped off by the swells. There were extremely intense swells that came through. That is ranging from 6.8 meters with a 15-second period, which is an immense amount of energy, and she clearly had the impact from that. And we are making assessments right now to see how much oil is actually still remaining on board the vessel. And from that assessment, we'll update our plans accordingly and knowing how to get that oil off. And that is the biggest challenge at the moment, is to first find out where that oil is, how much there is, and can we get access to that oil and then be able to get it out.
As part of the cleanup response, we do see that the oil is primarily focused on the adjacent beach. Nonetheless, we do have surveyors that are continually monitoring those environmentally sensitive areas to determine if there is a presence of oil.
At a peak, we've had 231 locally sourced team members, and those range between the ages of 18 to 35.
We do have the resources to deal with incidents like this. I think there's all types of expertise, people who are here dedicated not only to the environment, but to ensuring that, the issues of seafarers. I mean, you'd recall the Filipino seafarers who were saved here. But I think most important also is the dedication of the local communities to come in and also assist.
A potential presidential candidate in Tunisia has been sentenced to 2 years in prison, marking another setback for the country's fledgling opposition challenging President Kais Saied, even as he seeks a new term. Abir Musi, a 49-year-old lawyer and the head of the right-wing Free Party, was arrested last year after criticizing the electoral process and also presidential decrees guiding it, alleging a lack of transparency. Now, following a complaint by the North African Nations Election Authority, she was found guilty of violating a controversial anti-fake news decree outlawing spreading information that slanders or harms others. The law has been widely used to prosecute those who criticize authorities. Well, Ms. Musi's lawyer, Nafa Laribi, says that she still intends to run in the October 6th presidential election and that, unlike other candidates, nothing in the sentence will prevent her from running for president. Well, back here in Nigeria, the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, has assured of the Navy's commitment to consolidate on the gains recorded in securing the Gulf of Guinea. He was speaking at the official deployment of 4 warships, a logistics vessel, and 1 helicopter for maritime security operation codenamed Safe Domain 3, courtesy of the Nigerian Navy and her Benin Republic, Togo, and Republic of Niger counterparts. He says the operation would see the sub-regional naval forces collaborating so as to subdue any threat within the maritime space of member countries, adding that the member countries of the Economic Community of West African States, Zone E, has resolved to keep the entire area off the piracy blacklist.
The Multinational Maritime Coordination Center comes alive for the groundbreaking ceremony of Operation Safe Domain 3, an ambitious initiative that aims to fortify the blue economy of ECOWAS Zone E through unprecedented maritime security collaboration. The event draws a distinguished gathering of VVIPs from the maritime sector, including ministers, ambassadors, CNS, and Chief of Naval Staff of participating countries.
MMCC Zone E, as well as
Director of MMCC Zone E, Commodore Aniedi Ibok, sets the tone for the operation.
The ECOWAS maritime domain has been faced with transnational maritime security challenges that undermine its economic development and also affects the livelihoods of its local communities. These multifaceted threats include sea robbery, maritime piracy, illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, and various types of trafficking. These threats have negatively impacted the exploration of economic resources at sea.
Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, represented by the Flag Officer Commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral M.B. Hassan, highlights the operation's goal of enhancing maritime safety and security across the Gulf of Guinea, while the Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security of ECOWAS Commission, Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, was represented by Dr. Dieng Abdo Ranane, speaks on the theme.
It is gladdening to note that today, the Gulf of Guinea no longer bears the tag of one of the most dangerous waters in the world. While we may not be where we want to be yet, in terms of maritime safety and security, we have moved past the dark days when maritime criminals operate in the Gulf of Guinea with impunity.
The ECOWAS maritime domain in the Gulf of Guinea waters at large is part of this great common as a major sea lane of communication and trade route, as well as an important energy route with large deposits of minerals such as hydrocarbons, living resources such as different species of fish. Hence, protecting and securing our maritime domain is an essential necessary through operational means.
Operation Safe Domain 3 stands as a testament to the power of collaboration and a beacon of hope for a safer, more prosperous maritime future in ECOWAS Zone E.
Still in Nigeria, the Lagos state government has commenced another round of fertilizer distribution to clusters of farmers in the Ojo and Badagry areas of the state.
The Lagos State Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Systems, Abisola Olusoya, Special Advisor on Rice Initiative, Oluwarotimi Fashola, and other senior officials from the ministry arrived at Badagry area of the state to meet with Ojo farmers and also distribute fertilizers to them. Farming is their major source of income in this area. Variety of vegetables are being planted here and sold to markets across the state. The farmers have cluster groups utilizing over 300 hectares of land to plant their produce without any rancor.
We have more than 700 farmers. There are women that I know and men, more than 200 or 300. And the trucks that live here every day to Oyigbo, Oshodi, various places, almost about 50 trucks, to Bandri, to every other places. I can say that we are feeding Lagos State, and we are extremely happy. I'm very grateful that they remember us, even in Ojo.
For the commissioner to be here today, we are very excited. He has all her teams. Thank you very much.
Ojo farmers receive their own share of the fertilizers, coming in handy at a time when prices of goods have doubled and keeps increasing. From Ojo to another farmland within the Lagos State University, Ojo campus, to also distribute fertilizers to farmers. Next up is a riverine community in the Iwodo area of Badagry to also hand over fertilizers to farmers occupying Daddy Lewis farmland in Badagry, planting tomatoes, cassava, cucumbers, potatoes and vegetables. The commission in charge says the state government will do more to support farmers' production.
For every round of harvesting that they do across a 70-hectare, geography here, over 2.8 billion is what is being generated here per cycle. And you can see the farmers here. It's a combination of young and old people. And this is part of what we are looking, to continue to support in the Produce for Lagos initiative. It is two-pronged, meaning support local production, domestic sufficiency, and also collaboration with other state partners and other multilateral and bilateral agencies. So as we get input, we will continue to bring it here. We'll continue to assess their production capabilities and also give them technical support through our Lagos State Agricultural Development Authority and Agricultural Services Department. And whatever other support that they need, even outside of our own scope, we would liaise with other ministries, departments, and agencies of government to ensure that these farmers here are well supported, they are healthy, and they continue to produce for Lagos.
The Lagos State Government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Systems, assures farmers registered with cluster groups of Continuous Support Initiative to grow their business, reduce food prices, and also address issue of food insecurity in the state.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.